All units 10-3. It now appears as though shots are being fired. All officers use caution. It has been confirmed. Suspects are armed and are firing at police.
660 on the air. Northwest Sequel Signal 10. Building fire. Headquarters. Northwest Sequel Fire Department. 1000 North Broadway. Towards Moorpark Drive in North Albany. Multiple explosions coming from 661. Unable to get any ambulance, any rig down except for 667. Automatically go to a dirt alarm.
Hey, my name is Phil Lichtenberger, and you are listening to Scanner School, where we teach you everything to know about the scanner radio hobby. Let me tell you, I have been around radios and scanners, basically, since before that I could walk. And it's all thanks to my dad, my grandfather, and even my uncle. And my goal here, my mission on this podcast is to kind of transfer what I've learned over a lifetime of the scanner radio hobby over to you. And again, a little bit of that passion, maybe that will go your way as well. So that's why we're here, right? If you're new to the hobby, if you're a seasoned user, if there's something about this hobby that really makes you click or whatever, right? I want to hear about it. I want to have you on the podcast to share your story, just like today's guest has done. I want to introduce you all to Clayton from Moorpark Scanner, a citizen journalist style Facebook page and Instagram account. Clayton is a very impressive individual. At only 20 years old, not only does he have a professional appearance on his social media platforms, but he's also bought and sold and traded his way up from entry-level handheld scanners to more advanced P25 radios. He's an inspiration to anybody who is just getting into the hobby, right? And if you want to take what you know about scanning, or if you want to share what you hear on the radio with others and become a citizen journalist, Clayton has basically the roadmap for you, and he's going to teach us how he goes from just being a standalone listener to being a voice in his community, to having his pictures and his videos thrown into the local media because he's got some connections now based off what he does. So if you're interested in learning about how to become a citizen journalist, be a voice in your community, do more with the scanner radio hobby, then I'm excited for you to hear this conversation that I had with Clayton from Moorpark Scanner. All right, Clayton from Moorpark Scanner, welcome to the podcast today. Really great to have you on board.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. So this was your idea. You reached out to me a couple of times because apparently I had a broken link somewhere. But I really appreciate you sticking with it, plowing through, and then finally figuring out how to get a hold of me and book the podcast session. So thank you very much for that. So really quickly, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm from California. I live in Ventura County, so that's mainly the county I'm scanning. I got into scanners, I want to say, because I'm 20 now, and I got into them when I was about 16. So I've been scanning for about 4 years, and I've been a ham radio operator for only a couple months now. And then, but yeah, I got into scanning from being, I was an explorer at a local sheriff's office here. It's like a program for younger kids, learn the codes. And I was like, you know what, it'd be so sick to just get my own scanner and start listening to stuff. And picked it up from there.
Very cool. It's always nice to hear the younger generation. It makes me sound old. I'm only 20 something years older than you. But it's always cool to hear, right, new generations and new blood kind of getting into the podcast hobby. So, and just the Sheriff Explorers that brought you into it, or was there something else about it that got you going into scanning?
I would say it was that. I always thought the radio aspect of it was cool, and just knowing like what's going on like all the time, like, oh, you hear a siren? Oh, I got this radio right here. I can find out.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yep. So you kind of had you knew of scanners prior to then. I mean, you knew when you were in the Explorers, like, yeah, I need to get a scanner. Like that was it, right?
Oh yeah. I had always been interested in it. I just was like, well, I don't really know the lingo and such. And then once I got in there, learned how to talk on there, I was like, yep, now might be the time.
Nice. And what type of scanner are you using out there?
So when I first started, I started out with like a old, probably from the 90s, dude. It was like a It was called the BC350A from Uniden. Old scanner, only like 20 channels on it, things like that. But now I'm rocking with SDS 200, a BCD 996XT, BCT 15X, and a couple Motorola's as well.
Okay, so you just got in the hobby about 4 years ago, and you already got up to so you're spending money fast on it.
Oh yeah.
So were these all like a one-shot purchase, or did you kind of like graduate from one into the other over like the last 4 years? How did you set that all up?
So when I had my BC350A, had that for I want to say about a year, and I also forgot to mention I have a 436 HP as well. My mistake.
Well, there you go.
Anyways,
Okay.
but yeah. That was my train of thought. Sorry.
That's all right. Now I was asking you if you
I
bought them all up front, or you kind of graduated through the last 4 years into all these, because now you got what, 6 radios?
Oh
now,
yeah,
right. So
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not even including the Motorola. The Motorola
Right.
is crazy. But yeah, I started with that 350A, kept it for about a year, and then I accidentally dropped something on it, and I was like, you know what? Like instead of like I could just spend about like $40 more and get the 15X. So I got the 15X. It was still analog and stuff. And then from there, I bought a digital one. It was the 325P2 from Uniden. I got that to start listening to things on the go and hearing digital when I needed to. Because for the majority of the part in my county in Ventura, I would say about 90% of everything out here is analog. So we're pretty lucky still. Not too much digital, but the digital that is out here, it's encrypted or partially encrypted at times. But yeah, I got that. And then after that, I was like, you know what? Let me just get a base digital scanner. I thought it would end from there. And I was like, you know what? Like these should do it. But no, it started accumulating from there. I started doing trades on the radio reference website, on the discussion forums with some other users. So I was able to trade my way up and get some other scanners. Yeah. And then I used those ones because they were a little bit more higher value to then buy I would sell them, and then I would buy and maybe only spend like $50 extra to then, get my SDS 200 that I have now and then get the other ones that I have.
Very resourceful. So I'll tell you that. So to be able to trade up and into that. So how was the whole trading experience for you? Because I really only do person to person or face to face trades. So was there any worry on your part, or
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me it was just being sure that the user was pretty well known on the or on the radio reference site. Being sure they're active there for plenty of years. They started their account years ago. They're active and such. And then once I seen that, I was like, yeah, this is probably pretty true.
Okay.
And then pretty much just did that. It was pretty good verification of it, and then just got their phone number. Pretty much just verifying they were active in the community and such, and then going from there, getting their contact info, like their phone number and such, and then pretty much just going like, yep, this should be a clean cut, and just making sure that you guys are both sending at the same time. So when you deliver them with the tracking numbers, everything lines up.
Cool. And what did you do on your end so that the other person was just as comfortable as you were? I mean, were you as active on Radio Reference, or was?
Oh yeah, because I had started my account, pretty recent. And such, but I had my page going for me on Instagram, on Facebook. I had plenty of pictures of my setup, so I would say that helped as well.
Okay, so you are pretty active on social media then too. What kind of pages? What kind of pages do you run?
So I would say my main ones right now are Facebook and Instagram. Facebook kind of targets my older audience, letting them know what's going on around here, and Instagram kind of targets the younger audience as well, along with just posting, general extra things that I can put there with like the 24-hour stories and such.
All right. So an example of what the content is. I mean, right now you're kind of vague about it. So are you just putting pictures of scanners on it? 'Cause it's Instagram, or are you creating news stories? What are you doing with the social media and scanning?
Yeah. So I run a community page, pretty much just posting,
you can
news
name it if you want.
Yeah. Just pretty much just posting things that go around town.
Okay.
Moorpark's a pretty small town, and grew up there. And when something happens, it's always super huge, even though it's rare. It's always something big, and everyone's always wondering. So I was like, I might as well just start this.
So that's Moorpark Scanner, right? On both Instagram and on Facebook.
And Facebook, yeah.
So if I go Facebook.com, so it's just Moorpark Scanner. Let's see what comes up here. And there we go. Nice. Okay, so you got basically, wow, this is pretty good. So you got photos of different things that popped up in here, and other videos, and I guess stuff like that. So you go around and listen on the scanner, and then you you take pictures of what you're seeing or hearing, or
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice. So it's your own little homegrown or citizen journalism, so to
Yeah,
speak.
essentially.
Nice. Have you thought about just now, because my wheels are spinning here too, because this is something I was going to talk about in a future podcast. We'll touch and test the waters out here a little bit. Have you thought about, instead of being on Meta's sandbox or Meta's properties, would you have thought about doing this on your own with like a WordPress site and running a blog and doing it that way?
I think that's a good thing you bring up. I was for a little bit, but the problem with that is you kind of have to have a following already, or else you're going to be, spending a lot on hosting for your website. So I wanted to be sure, I built up a good amount of people before if I was going to ever try and do that.
Right.
But I think for now, Facebook and Instagram, it's what everyone's using. It's the best thing to try and keep up with for now.
Yep. I agree. To get in front of more people, you're exactly right with that. I do believe that it is hard to get people off of existing platforms that they are more than comfortable spending mindless hours going through. The other issue is you have to be aware of, and again, this is my age of experience. I'll pass this on to you. Is when you build your home on somebody else's property, the landowner has authority to do whatever it is they want to do with their property. So there was an issue many years ago where Facebook pages were very big. And you'd see Facebook pages. Everybody had a Facebook page, right, for their business or their blog or for their own thing. And eventually Facebook decided, you know what, we're not going to promote pages anymore. We want people to spend money with us in order to promote their Facebook page. But we want to grow a community here, so we will go ahead and promote Facebook groups instead of pages. And it really ruined a lot of people's businesses, because now all of a sudden, instead of having this whole audience in front of them, they weren't able to reach out to their audience anymore because Facebook wasn't showing their content anymore. There's also issues where if somebody grabs a hold of your Facebook account and they hack your account and they get your password, they can do whatever they want with your pages and your groups and everybody else. So if you ever lose access to your Facebook group or page, it's always good to have, first of all, a home base that you can bring people back to. But secondly, and more importantly, a mailing list. Because this way, if something ever does happen to your Facebook page or even to your website, you can still reach out and say, hey, I'm aware we have a problem. We have an outage over here. Don't worry. We're still collecting data, or we're busy bringing it back up on the scenes. Just stay put and we'll get you back to what you need, which is our services here. And additionally, you can always serve Google ads and stuff like that, right? Plus, if you ever get, somebody uses your footage, you've got a website. You've got that credibility going on there too. And I think websites, even at bare bottoms, right, or at the bare least, you have a home that is yours. The other issues too is, I was doing this for quite a while too, is I was using plugins on WordPress that anytime that a new blog post would come on, it would grab the feature image and the description, and it would repost that to Facebook into the group or the page. And it would also repost that into Instagram. So now instead of me having to post in 2 other places, I'm only posting in one place, and everything is being handled behind the scenes for me. So it's basically transparent to anybody who's already a user of your Facebook account, but it then brings a link back to your homepage. You have a link back, which Google likes, because now you've got link backs going to a whole bunch of other stuff. But just an advice, even though it's going to cost you $10 a month for hosting, whatever it is, well worth it at this point, just as an investment. And then again, the images you post and share on your website are yours. They're not Facebook's images. And you know what I mean? It becomes this whole big thing. So think about it. I definitely think it's worthwhile having a web page, especially when you're at the point where you're at right now with your life. And who knows, if this grows and becomes big, you have something that you can pass on or sell. Whereas if it's a Facebook group page, who cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You bring on another moderator and it just continues to change hands, and you built this thing, and there's no tie back to you. But there's a lot more you can do with that. And again, I want to save a little bit of this conversation that I'm having with you here and save it for a future podcast episode, because you are in here today to talk about a whole lot of something different. So why don't we talk about you getting into the hobby more of, you said beginning, right, is what you wanted to talk about, getting started with the hobby. We talked about you a little bit getting involved with the local explorers at the sheriff's department, but let's keep going with this. Let's dig down even further on this one. It's about just getting started, because again, there's a lot to digest when somebody is getting started in the hobby, there's a lot to digest. I'll be the first one to admit that. It's very overwhelming. So I'll let you
Yeah.
take it from here.
Yeah, I would say probably starting out, I was pretty lost. I would say, yeah, big time. I was pretty lost. I think the one thing that helped me was a lot of YouTube video tutorials, a lot of
Mhm.
those, and just like I would say, like I just wish there was like some simplistic way of just knowing, like you could enter in your zip code and there's bam, a scanner comes up of what would fit there without it having to be crazy expensive like an SDS type thing. But yeah, when I first started out, I would say I just used a lot of internet guidance, asking a couple questions in the radio reference forums, if
Mhm.
only if it was something I couldn't Google. I feel like a lot of people go there instantly and ask very, very basic questions when it could easily be answered just by doing a Google search. I always try and do that first before even asking anyone there. Or else you're gonna have tons of people roasting you because they're like, "You could have found this here."
And that is part of the problem too when somebody is just starting out. First of all,
Uh-huh.
there's that nervousness about not knowing something. And then there's that like issue where if you get somebody who's had, I don't know, maybe a couple of too many drinks and they get to be a keyboard commando, or they're just grumpy to begin with, and they'll come back at you just like that and say, hey, that's a simple question. Why didn't you do the search button first before
Yeah.
asking that question? This question has been asked 99 other times, but you know what? Everybody, I think it's tough, right? Because people forget what it's like to do something new, especially with scanning, and not know anything, and look at the
Yep.
landscape here and go, what am I getting myself into? Why am I going to spend $650 on a scanner when I can buy one for $100? Why can't I listen to this? What does this mean? What is trunking? How does trunking? It is all,
Yeah.
and it's very much to get overwhelmed. And I don't mind if somebody comes to me with the same question 5 or 6 times, or it's 5 or 6 people asking the same question. To me, that's great because they want help and they're open to asking for help. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going on Google to ask the question or ask, to find the question, because that's what Google's there for too. But for somebody like me that wants to help, I'll help you all day long. So what else?
I would say that, and then also with there's a lot of Facebook groups out there too. I
Hmm.
would say the most common thing that comes up, especially when people are just starting out, is they pick up one of the zip code type scanners, one of the Home Patrol ones. They enter in their zip code, they're off to scan and just like normal, but they want something a little bit more custom. That's when the questions start to come up. How do I build a database? How do I? What is a system? What is an apartment? What's a site? That's when all these questions come up. But I think a big one, just when you're just first starting out, is to just getting the bare bones, as in maybe you have an area that's phase two trunking. You can buy like a 996P2, save a little bit on money for, just to start out with, and then learn from that, and then build yourself up if you truly need one of those, Home Patrol type scanners, or, if you're dealing with the Whistler ones, I forgot what program they use, but if you're dealing with the Whistler ones, dealing with the
Hmm.
scan lists and such, just starting out with the basics, I would say.
Right. Whistler is easy scan. And there's
Yeah, that's right.
there's nothing easy about it.
There,
So it's
yeah,
fun.
exactly.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of their software, but it is what it is, and it's what you have to use, and you have to learn how to use it. But a lot of people say the same thing. They don't like Sentinel, but I took right to it. To me, it just seemed like it was very easy to understand. But if different people learn differently as it is. Yeah, but you're right. It is a bit crazy. And again, if you need to save money too, if you don't have a phase two network, you can always go for the Whistler that isn't phase two capable. But there's 1,000 different ways around, right? Getting started with the
Yeah.
hobby. And the problem is too, right? You don't know what you don't know. You
Yep.
buy a 358 and find out everything's P25. Then what? You
Yep.
know?
Yeah. And yeah, just knowing what's around your area. I see a lot of people who buy a scanner. They may buy a digital one, or maybe it
Mhm.
might only be phase one. They don't have a phase two capability yet because they know that their county or their city's phase one, but maybe they want to listen to the next county over. Maybe they want to listen to the state agency, and they go, "Oh shoot, that needs phase two." You don't have to listen to everything if it doesn't matter to your area. Is what I kind of feel like. Is it nice to listen to those other areas at times? Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
It's cool to have as many scanners as you want. Just like me, I have tons right now. But is when it's not necessary to you, when you want to hear local things, I don't. It's not good to break the bank for it if you know it's not going to be relevant for info. You know what I mean?
Right. So you want to talk about that? Breaking the bank?
Yeah, breaking the bank. Yeah, starting out, it's a lot of people will want to get into the hobby. You know, they'll be like, "Oh, I want to listen to that. That sounds awesome." Like, I wouldn't mind, hearing these pursuits, fires, things like that. Which, yeah, there's a lot of fun in that, but it obviously comes at that cost of finding out that your area might cost you about $600 or 700
Hmm.
bucks. But I think that just finding out what you truly need, just getting the info up first, finding out what you need to listen to or what you need to listen to at first, whether it's phase two, phase one, is pretty crucial to it, and especially if it's going to be for your area. Also, that, or if you maybe have a couple scanners already, is doing what I did and just trading up. Try and find somebody on the radio reference discussion. Try and see who's selling locally or selling on the radio reference website for the classified ads. That was a great thing that helped me. It saved me a bunch because surprisingly, eBay buying used scanners there more expensive than the radio reference forums for sure. I don't know if you've ever seen those ones yourself, but I want to say eBay's probably about like $100 more sometimes, maybe $80 more, where you can save that just by going to radio reference and just doing it, person to person like that.
Yeah, eBay is very interesting. Put
Yeah.
it that way. But you're right. I've gotten a lot of great deals off of Radio Reference, and even to reach out to somebody. Like I just did a deal with somebody, and he had three radios set up there, and I was interested in just one of them. And I said, hey, I bought this radio from you. It's like 3-4 months ago. It's working great. I'm really impressed by what you supplied with the radio. I wasn't expecting this. You've got these three here. I'm interested in this one. Would you split the package? And he's like, yeah, I'll split it. How about this much money for that? And I'm like, yeah, it was much less than I was expecting for it to begin with, but it worked out really well for the two of us. He sold a radio. I bought a radio, and we traded, now the second radio from his collection to my collection. But yeah, even by buying and selling, right, in the radio reference forums, you build a little bit of a rapport with somebody, right? You build a little bit, and you got their relationship, and you could always say too, hey, look, I'm trustworthy. You could reach out to this guy and this guy and this guy who I've done deals with in the past if you want a reference that says that I'm legit and whatnot. So, but yeah, definitely eBay's a little bit pricey, but again, eBay sometimes has those things that you can't really find on radio reference either. So it's
Yeah, for sure.
It's a give or take relationship. So
yeah. I think, by far my best trade that I ever had was my first actual digital base scanner that I bought was a 996P2. And I bought it used on eBay for, I want to say about 320, 325. And it came with DMR. So it wasn't that bad of a deal.
Okay.
And, it came with cord, antenna, all things like that. Just your normal accessories, no manual, no box. And I used that for a little bit, and I ended up finding an older gentleman on the radio reference site, and he was saying that he was trustworthy. I want to say he started his account in like early 2000s. So I knew it was immediately he was going to have tons of discussions on there. Anyways, he said that he was older. He said he had some vision problems, and that the screen on his 536 was almost impossible for him to read because it's a wider screen that can fit a lot of text, but it's smaller, than those 996 scanners with that square type screen with big bold text. And he was looking to trade for someone's 996 P2 with DMR or NXDN. And I go, sure. And his 536 actually came with DMR and NXDN. So already I was like, and it came with all these accessories, antenna, Wi-Fi, or the Wi-Fi dongle, power cord, and all things like that, the base, everything. And I was like, you know what? Like, I paid like $320, about that for mine. I was like, this is like a $500 scanner already, plus upgrades with an extra one I didn't even have. I was like, I'm gonna hop on this. This is a no brainer.
Right. And then you didn't list that right now, so that means you've either traded it or sold it too, right?
I actually sold it later. I kept it for I want to say maybe about 3-4 months. It was absolutely great. I loved it. But I realized that I could sell it and only have to pay $100 for an SDS 200 out of my pocket. So, I sold it on, I sold it up on eBay for, I think I sold it for about $590.
Okay.
Or like $6 something. Yeah, almost about $600.
Wow.
And I was able to get my SDS 200, which I got for an absolute steal.
You certainly did. So all in all, then you paid like $425 for an SDS 200. You saved yourself $200.
Essentially, yeah.
Wow.
The place where I got my SDS 200, actually, I got it from a ham radio website. that was clearancing out everything on the site, absolutely everything, including the SDS series scanners. And it not only came with the SDS, but it came with like a Yaesu ham radio with it as well. I didn't need it for me because I got my Motorola's, but it was I want to say a VHF, VHF UHF Yaesu.
Okay.
Completely forgot the model on it, but it's about like $80. And then with the SDS 200, because they were clearancing out everything with the bundle, it was only 600 instead of the normal 700 price they usually are.
Wow. So it was basically like a too good to be true situation that ended up like not being like a scam. I mean, you lucked out on that one.
Yep.
Is that website still in business?
Perfect. I want to say they still have a couple things. I completely forgot the company. I think it's like MTC, based out of Texas.
Okay.
I forgot what their name was. But yeah, absolutely crazy steal. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to pass up on this. I'm going to grab that.
Did you sell the Yaesu for a profit then?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Sold that on eBay. It's like nothing.
Nice. You know, there's a lot of guys out there too that just do the buy and sell of the radio gear too. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people are just going to swap meets and just buying things and selling things and relisting things. I mean, that's, if you know what you're looking for, that could be a little bit of a side business within itself. So, you know, I'm sure some guys right now are cringing saying it's going to ruin the hobby and ruin the cost. But, you know, the truth is, I mean, you can find them on police auctions and stuff like that, pennies on the dollar. And that's where some of the radios end up showing up as well. So good for you, man, for being resourceful and figuring this all out. But I'm sure it's, you know, that alone is exciting.
Yeah. I think the biggest tip, though, for anyone who's starting out, especially if cost is an issue, it's definitely just the radio reference. I want to say it's better than eBay in the sense of if you use PayPal, you know, goods and services, 10 times better than eBay with the deals you can get.
Right.
And kind of just building up that rapport there. But also but looking out for deals too. Don't just stay on radio reference. Try Facebook groups. Try maybe even a local group in general with Facebook, maybe to your community. Just even looking up on Google SDS 200, just typing that in and just seeing what the normal price is, seeing what other places have it for. That's so you know, okay, well, maybe it doesn't, you know, which it never does go on sale ever. But, you know, then you know that, okay, then the lowest price I see, 700, then you're expecting that 700 price. So you know that anything that's below about 700, it's a good deal.
Yep. I mean, that's supply and demand right now at that SDS 100 and 200. I mean, it's been out since 2018 or so, and it's still up there. So it's a tough one. All right, we're going to take a quick break right here. And as a reminder, anybody who's a Patreon supporter at the $3 or higher tier doesn't get this break. And they're going to go right back to listen to this conversation that I had with Clayton. For everybody else, we'll catch you in just a moment. Are there any Facebook groups that you recommend jumping into for somebody who's on that platform to buy and sell? Or what would you recommend?
I think probably my personal favorite is, let me see, I'm pulling it up as we speak right now. It is they have one, it's the Uniden SDS 200 scanner only group. That one's pretty good if you're looking at, just you're interested in maybe an SDS you don't know yet, especially the base one. That one's pretty good if you have questions about it. The other one that I use a lot was the two-way radio network radios and scanner garage sale. A lot of sales you can see there from people with used ones. You can get some good steals there. And the radio scanner help and chat. That one has about 8,000 members. And I would say that one, everyone's willing to answer your questions. There's also, you know, you can sell on there. So a lot of people have some good equipment.
Nice. Some of these I wasn't aware of, but there are others out there. This is like a Uniden something group that's got a crazy number of members on there. There's tons of groups. Just all you gotta do is just type in like Uniden or Whistler.
Yeah.
Like you said, just type in SDS 200 into a search in Google, and it'll come up all the groups that are in there. Yeah, I mean, social media is good too. And again, don't just jump into these groups and then look to buy something. Sit around in these groups, get comfortable there. Just sit there and lurk for a little bit, because you'll find out, like, you know, if there's a scammy guy in the group, or, you know, there are some bad seeds out there. I've seen it in some of the radio groups that there's, you know, a typical guy who comes in there and he's got a brand new account, and, you know, he'll have the too good to be deal type of deal, and he'll want the Venmo payment, or he'll want the Facebook payment instead of the PayPal goods and services payment. And those are usually red flags right there. You know, I mean, I would definitely recommend, as you said, you know, I don't even like friends and family for PayPal, because it removes all of the the safety protocols that were ever put in place. I mean, if somebody's insisting on friends and family and then just say, look, well, I'll give you the extra 3% to cover your losses. And I've done that in the past before. I'll say, look, I know you want this much money for the scanner. I'm not willing to do friends and family. I'm going to give you an extra, whatever it is, $5, $10, whatever it is. Go buy yourself something on the way to the post office and I'll
Call
cover
it
your
even.
losses. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
So generally when I make it a little bit more than the 3% and I say, look, there's a couple extra bucks in there for your trouble or for your inconvenience of not using the payment method you wanted to go with, it helps. 9
Yeah,
times out of 10, it
absolutely.
certainly does help. Cool, man. So what else are you listening to out there?
I listen to, so luckily for me, we're right near Los Angeles, so we got action-packed stuff all day. Mainly out here in Ventura County, I'm mainly listening to my local PDs, sheriff's office, state highway patrol out here. And then I'm able to hear Los Angeles. I'm waiting on a Yagi antenna to come in so I can start picking up things like, hopefully I can pick up like Kern County with that. It's a little distance, but I think I can do it. But yeah, pretty much just LA. So, LAPD, LA Sheriff, LA Fire Department, LA County Fire Department, tons and tons of things to listen out here. There's never not any action.
It sounds like you got the bug. Yeah, that's really awesome to hear that. So, I mean, let's run through it though, because you are managing the Facebook page and the Instagram account. Let's talk through typically how you get your information on there. Just kind of change gears a little bit here and talk about that really quickly. What you got? How many radios do you have turned on at one particular time? How many are you listening to?
So about 3.
You have
3 I
going.
got going full time. Yeah, all time. Even when I'm asleep, 3, all the time. And then the ones on the side, so my Motorola's and like my portable, I tend to use those for like something major comes up, so I can keep my other ones free to maybe listen to another county or another different agency that might be involved in whatever that incident might be, so that I'm able to have multiple going to where I can hear all the traffic no matter what.
That's smart. You got it set up pretty good. And I guess the 3 scanners you have set up are doing 3 independent things, right? They're not repeating themselves or perfect. Very nice. And what are you currently doing? What is the criteria for you to, I mean, are you going out and taking pictures for your pages or are you just monitoring what's going on?
Yeah, so I personally, for me, I really like the photos. I obviously like the scanning aspect more, but for me, I like to get photos of it. And occasionally I'll have things sent to the news if I want to get footage of it. I have a good buddy. He works for a what is that called? Like a streaming company. So
like a stringer service, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's with a company based out of Los Angeles, and if I ever catch something good, I'll send it off to him. He'll send it to the news agencies, and we'll go from there.
Nice. That was what I was going to ask you. So are you ever planning on doing this as a stringer or something like that? And again, that's where a web page can come in and say, hey, here's my resume. Here's the jobs and here's my ability to kind of put this stuff together for a news service. But very cool. So you're kind of turning this is I mean, I'm blown away here a little bit. You're turning radios that are pretty affordable into radios that are out of your reach financially.
Yeah.
Just by doing a little bit of homework and a little bit of trading and stuff like that. Yep. It reminds me, there was I don't know if you ever remember, but there was a TV show on a couple of years ago. It was like Barter Kings, and they would do like the exact same thing. They would buy something. They had like a buy and trade post type of deal as a store, but the whole premise of the store, you could tell, was mostly staged. But it's like, they would turn this golf club into a golf cart, and they would trade their way up from something that was $100 into something that cost like, $10,000 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it was a journey along the way. So it reminded me a lot of that kind of stuff. So, so very cool. So you have anything else you want to bring up today? I mean, we're going through a lot of stuff here, but what else you got?
I think probably my last thing I'd like to mention when just you're starting out is especially as a beginner and you're looking up what can listen to what, whether it be, digital mode, analog. I see a lot of beginners who will stumble upon maybe a Baofeng or a Motorola, and they wonder, like, they'll see the price of those and they'll be like, wow, these are insanely cheap. Like, let me, this might be better than a scanner. I wouldn't say I fell into that, but I definitely looked at that aspect and was about to pull the trigger on a couple radios, but both of which, whether it be Motorola or just a ham radio in general, they're never going to have the capability as a scanner will in features. Lock something out, lock a channel out, be able to listen to a certain zone or group, things like that. Listen to multiple channels and be able to scan them at a decent rate. That's the big one, especially with the Motorola's. The prices are great on them, especially if you're buying them used. But good luck trying to get them programmed.
Yep, and it's no secret. I give Baofeng, whatever, a really hard time, but in the end, it's a $35 radio, and I mean, if it allows you to monitor one agency and free up your scanner so that you can dedicate one radio to something, or if you're going to leave the house and it's pouring rain outside or something like that, and you're not too worried about damaging a radio, that Baofeng could be better than nothing at times. But it's still a wacky radio. It's super slow with scanning, like you said, no locking out, no banks, no but it is what it is. It's $35. It's disposable if something happens to it. Let's put it that way. Your SDS isn't disposable. If that's broken, you're going to pay more than a Baofeng is worth even to get it repaired. So
those with the cost that can come up. A lot of people will see, they'll be like, well, this can do the same thing. And I will say reception, if it is speaking more so on the Motorola side, the reception, the speaker quality absolutely blows these scanners out of the water, no doubt. But as far as features go and being able to listen to multiple things, it's just not there. I usually only use them for maybe like one agency, just to scan along of what's in that little group that I have, or just listening to one specific channel if it's something major.
Right. And it's the radios were built for two different things, right? The commercial grade radio was made for a commercial two-way use. It was made to be loud so you can hear it in an environment that may be in a construction zone or emergency situation or something like that. And a scanner is made for the consumer market, who's going to be a little bit more delicate, hopefully, with the radio, and may not survive a trip off the desk. So it's a different world. But again, too, that professional radio wasn't made to scan 1,000 channels. It was only really made to listen to the channel you're talking to, or maybe that and two other channels. So for that, slow scan rate is fine, but not when you've got 100, 200, 300 channels that you're trying to cycle through it and lock things out and put things in hold and all this other stuff. So yeah, two different radios, but I think they can live in harmony side by side, especially the way you've got them set up. So really good. And again, too, I mean, talking about the introduction point and the price point, and whatnot, too, there's other resources out there, right? If you're trying to cut corners when it comes to scanning, I mean, you're not going to be able to control somebody's scanner when it's on Broadcastify or some other means, but at least you can listen to a radio maybe you can't afford. But it's P25 or simulcast, and you just don't have the means to it, you can always listen to another radio. And I don't know if you ever played around with them either, but software-defined radios is another great way to get active in the radio.
Yeah, I had a little experience with that. I would say the cost is absolutely great for how cheap they are, and just getting started with those. But it comes at a cost, and I would say the cost is having to run that computer or whatever you're using that as all the time if you want to actually listen to whatever you want to listen to.
But there is other aspect too that what else is out there too. So, it's more of an analyzer type of deal too, because you will see all the other users on the trunk system. You'll see issues in the trunk system. You'll see, who's operating on different types of networks. And even when it comes to programming a scanner, right? Because you may find out that the 800 layer's got everything you want to listen to, and the 700 layer has nothing on it. And so then why bother putting the 700 layer in? You're slowing your scanner up by doing that. So SDRs can definitely be a tool. And again, if it saves you from spending $600 on a scanner, and $40, $50, $60 now instead, then that's still a way of getting around the high price tag. So, but cool. Anything else you got?
It's pretty much it, man.
That's it, man. Excellent.
We definitely covered a lot.
We really did. And I got two sides of paper written on both sides, front and back here, that we went through with different kinds of notes. And this was interesting because I thought we were going to go in and talk about one thing, and we really went around quite a bit. But again, I'm pretty amazed. I got to be honest with you. I am amazed at the fact that you took some of these radios and you were able to trade them into different radios. And it wasn't like you took advantage of anybody either, because you said, the other gentleman, he had a 536. It wasn't a great setup for him, but for you, it was perfect. And you had the radio he wanted. He had the radio you wanted. It was a mutual swap where both of you ended up getting what you wanted out of it. Yeah. So it worked out really well. So Very, very cool. And again, being 20 and getting into it, and it sounds like you've got the bug because now you want to put Yagi antennas. You're playing around with different radios. You understand how things are working out here. And hey, you may fall. I'm going to just from experience. You may fall out of the hobby for a little bit, but you'll find your way back in. I promise you that. If you
oh yeah, no doubt. I've been thinking about that too. I was like, but my thing is that if you see someone that has a Motorola along with their scanning setup, they're not no beginner. I can tell you that. Anytime I ever see that, I know this dude's been around the block.
Exactly. So my advice to you is if you ever decide that it's time to get out of the hobby, don't sell every single one of them because eventually you're going to find out, no, I want it. Something happened. I want to turn it back on again, so always keep one around with you. But listen, best of luck with the hobby, keeping with it, learning more stuff. And again, let's plug those websites or the accounts that you have. Where can people reach out and have a conversation with you if they want to follow up with anything?
Yeah, I would say the most active one for things like that is going to be my Instagram page, which you can find at Moorpark Scanner. So MOORPARK Scanner on Instagram. Send me a DM. I have a few things on there that people can check out if they want to see my scanner setup. I post all about it all the time. If somebody has questions, what am I using? What's this? What's that? I put tons of updates if I get new equipment, things like that. So if anyone wants to find me on there, I'm on there.
Nice. And then you also got the Facebook page too, right? That you said
Facebook page as well.
Name, right?
Yeah. Same name. Yep.
Perfect. All right, Clayton. So again, thank you very much for being on the podcast. And I know, like we said before, I don't know if it was before we hit record here, but besides the process of trying to get through my link stack over on Instagram, because I'll look at that now after we talk. How was the process though of setting up a time to book the conversation here? I mean, once you got to the page, it was okay?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah, so it was pretty much just the link tree.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see I want to say there might have been even one other link there that didn't work, but I would say it was probably just the only one was the appointment one. That was it.
Okay, excellent.
But other than that, everything worked fine.
Perfect. So again, this was your idea. I want to thank you very much for bringing this idea to the podcast, and hopefully you'll get a couple more follows out of this over on your social media accounts. So again, thank you very much for coming on here, and maybe we'll do this again soon. It was a great conversation, and anytime you want to come back, you know how to reach out and book another session.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, man. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Clayton, for being a guest on today's podcast. Now, if anybody wants to reach out to Clayton, you can reach him on his Facebook or Instagram pages. They're at Moorpark Scanner. Again, that's MOORPARK. Again, we'll put a link to them over in the description and the show notes for this podcast episode. So you can go ahead and click on there to go right to his Facebook page. So Clayton, best of luck with whatever it is you decide to do with the Scanner Radio Hobby. And I hope that your social media accounts continue to grow and it continues to bring you some success and recognition in the field of citizen journalism, which is what you are doing right now. So again, thank you for sharing your story and being a guest on this week's podcast. Now, this is an open call right now. If you're listening right now, you the listener, listening to this podcast, has a story that you want to share, something that is exciting about the hobby that you've been doing, whatever it might happen to be, I am asking for you to go to scannerschool.com/guest and be a part of the podcast. From there, you'll see a calendar with available dates and times. Once you pick a date and time that is available to both of us on the calendar, again, only my availability shows up, so you know it's going to work for me. Go ahead and click that, submit that, and I will respond with a Zoom link, basically, so we can sit down and meet. And again, it's audio only, so you don't have to worry about how you look or what's around you, because again, I got a face for radio. I'm gonna say it right now. So again, scannerschool.com/guest. And again, as a reminder, I'm also looking for questions for our upcoming Ask Scanner School podcast episode. I can't continue to do those without your questions. So go and pick up your phone right now, 516-308-2885, or go to scannerschool.com/ask. Finally, I want to know what you thought about today's podcast episode. You can be a part of the Scan Nerd community by going to scannerschool.com/discord and let us all know what you thought of today's podcast episode. In there, you'll find other community members sharing pictures, advice, asking for help, and just hanging out and being a part of the Scan Nerd community. Again, we would love to see you in there, scannerschool.com/discord. Before we wrap up this week's podcast, I want to take a minute here to thank all of our Patreon supporters. Alan Gonzalez, Arthur Altrak, Arthur Heron, Bill Kay, Bob Brops, Bob Milton, Brandon Salmons, Brian King, Chris Paris, Craig Harper, Dan, Dave Dombrowski, Dave Pasco, David C., Danny Crotty, Dylan Hyder, Ed Walsh, Edward Bramlett, Glenn Wright, Greg Johnson, Guy Lee, I Hate Junk Mail, Jack Haycock, Jacques Berry, James Broxton, James Felling, Jay Reed, Jeff Block, Jeff Chapman, Jeff McLeod, Jenny Taylor, Jim B., Jim Heinrich, Joe Curtis, Joe P., John Corduff, John Sheldon, John Keel, John Sweeney, John Goldenberg, Joshua Robb, Ken Newberry, Kenneth Fowler, Kevin Zwicky, Lenny Bauer, Les Stevenson, Lloyd R., Mark Beebe, Michael Gorman, Michael Kroger, Michael Meadows, Mike Lopez, Mike Piltz, Nicholas Stenger, Paul Teal, Randy Lee Wright, Raymond Hill, Rich Palmieri, Ronnie Bach, Sal Marandola, Scott Lefgren, Terry Wright, Tim Mazet, TJ, Todd Glendy, and William Arcand. Find out more about Patreon and our support tiers by visiting scannerschool.com/Patreon. Thanks again for listening. We'll catch you again next week. 73.